Hello, fellow Earthlings. Welcome back to another episode of New Earth Podcast. I am very excited to have this guest that I get to speak to today. She's this like soul sister, I think that's kind of been like, we've been meaning to connect in this way. And of course, somehow magically, the universe had a plan for us to sit here today on the show. So we've got the lovely Zahara Zimring on the podcast today. Hello, love. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Nixie. I'm excited. I'm lit. It's so cool that this is our first real drop-in conversation and we get to have this like transparent communication where the world gets to observe what it looks like for two sisters to come together and just like jam out for an hour.
I know, right? That's one of the best things about podcasting that I truly love is to be able to just go deep right away and not really have any understanding of like maybe what the other person fully, who they are, what they do, but we just get to go deep like initially upon meeting. So for those of you guys that are not familiar, and ladies and gentlemen out there who are not familiar with Zahara's work, she is a transformational coach, liberation artist, evolutionary astrologer, and ceremonialist. She is the creator of the Liberation Dojo, which I can't wait to get into because I've heard all about this. It's a signature experience that shatters limitation and offers a safe space to expand beyond fear-based behavioral patterns while activating dormant gifts and being held in community. So it's kind of obvious why she's here today, I think. So yeah, we're going to get into a little more of your work. But before we do, I always like to ask my guests this question. How do you connect to the land that you live on?
Wow, that's such a beautiful question. First, with gratitude every single day. I am so blessed to have manifest my absolute dream home with my partner, Oren Harris, and we call it the Lighthouse. And it is an incredible piece of land on a cliff overlooking the ocean in the Pacific Palisades. And we moved here about a year and a half ago from an apartment, from a one-bedroom apartment. So we made a huge
Wow.
leap in our environment to come here. And we have a Rhodesian Ridgeback mixed dog, so a giant horse dog as well. So all three of us feel very blessed and grateful every single day for the space in the home and the land that we live on. And, you know, as one who feels deeply connected with the earth and with nature in general, I ride the vibration of my gratitude every day on our walks and overlooking the ocean, breathing the ocean in, breathing in the feeling the wind and feeling appreciation, letting that amplify the land that I live on, letting that amplify the space that we are blessed to inhabit at this time. Also recognizing that, you know, everything is temporary and that, you know, I've had to go through the more my love for this place and this space and this land has increased, I've noticed like fear of losing it increasing as well, or like resisting the day, because we're renting currently, resisting
Yeah.
the day that we may have to leave, what even if it's years from now, you know, feeling that attachment coming online and realizing that everything is impermanent. So that to the degree that I love it, I also get to practice letting it go and recognizing that, you know, this land, we don't own it, it's not ours. And so I get to connect to it from this like detached place of gratitude for holding us during this time, for holding us in the transformational work that we do, in the service that we offer, and feeling really the feeling so blessed to be held by this place during this time. So really the first thing that came to me is in the gratitude, and then everything comes from there.
Oh, I love that. That is so beautiful. And
Mhm.
that practice of like detachment is really important too when we recognize that we don't really we never own land, right? It's like something that the land cannot be owned or bought. It is something that is owned by itself, and I really am learning to understand that, you know, and come to this realization that what we do and what we're here to experience with the land that we're on is for our experience, right? And it really supports us through that. So
Yeah.
I can
Uh,
relate to that.
there was something, what you just shared reminded me of a book by Alice Walker that I was reading. I think it's called We Are the Ones We've Been Looking For, something like that. And this one part, and it was so striking, and she's talking about the heaviness of our footprint on the land, on this planet at this time, through the homes and through the buildings and through, that imprint, and referencing the native people and the native way of living on the land through teepees. And teepees are, movable and can, be
Yeah.
removed and taken off the land and placed in another location. And there's a lightness to the living on the land in that way. And so one thing, that really brought up inside of me is the, being aware of the imprint, the impact, and the footprint that I'm leaving as a being on this earth at this time, this earth that is suffocating in so many ways and is speaking to us in so many ways through, COVID. I feel like there's been a chain reaction, right? From the burning down of the jungles, the lungs of the planet, the lungs of the
I
planet,
keep talking about this.
right? The corona catalyst, the lungs are
Yep.
full. We can't breathe as human beings, as extensions of her. And then, even through until George Floyd, and all of us are saying, we can't breathe, right? It's like we are organisms, extensions of her on this earth. And she is screaming through us, through all of the wounding, through all of the ways we've disconnected from her, that she is suffocating. And that includes the way that we live on this land, the way that we relate to this land, and even the way we construct and build home on this land. It's important at this time that we become aware of, are we helping her breathe, or are we adding to the constriction?
Wow, you just brought home so much of what I literally was just having this conversation. I'm sure that so many of us are having this conversation, for those that do have that level of, just awareness of the earth and understanding this deep connection we have with her.
Mm-hmm.
And the part though about us speaking through, like, I just had this so deep vision of how when the rainforest was on fire and it's the lungs of our planet, I remember thinking, oh, we're in for it. Like, we have got something coming from this, because for anyone to, I mean, much of our society that operates in that place of greed, it's now up to us, like the light workers, the healers, those that are here to really, I think, anchor in this awareness, this level of awareness and consciousness that we are connected to the planet, is like, great, here we go, right? We came here for this, but I knew there was going to be some level of karmic bond that we were going to experience as humans. And then you just saying that, like, I can't breathe, we can't breathe, I kept thinking, like, why do we keep saying that? It feels like a spell casting, like, ritual or something. Like, what is that? But you kind of just gave light to, perhaps it is mother speaking to, like, we're speaking for her right now.
Yeah, everything is connected. We are all connected. We do not live unless she does, like, there's this distortion of this idea. And a dear sister of mine, Brianna, brought this to light for me, and it resonated so deeply. This idea that we human beings are going to destroy the planet is such an egotistical thought, that we could destroy her. I feel that the mother energy that we for so long have given her, right? Because we can feel the way she holds us. The ground holds us. We feel that's the ultimate stability. It's the ultimate security, the ultimate nourishment. Our food, our resources, our water comes from her. We are alive through her, right? So the great mother energy. But she is fierce. Nature is fierce as well. And when I feel like, due to the mother energy, there's this compassion and stretching, like, for us, for these beings that are living on her, in her belly, and saying, like, come on, guys, like, get the drift. Here's a warning, and it's lighter. Now here's a little stronger of a warning, and here's a stronger of a warning. Here's a stronger one. And, like, I feel like she's been holding out as long as possible to, like, give us a chance to unite and come together and learn how to live in a symbiotic, harmonious relationship with this planet and each other. And we hit a maximum capacity. And I feel like one big threshold moment was the burning down of the jungles. And at that point, there's great mother calls it, big mama. There's a spoken word that I wrote called The Blessing and the Virus. And it's on, that was launched on Unify. You can also find it on my Instagram and my stories. And it talks all about this and how, at a certain point, Big Mama called it and is like, now everybody, kids, go to your room. Like there's an unleashing then of the virus that is now having to balance things out. She will balance things out. This planet will destroy us far before we actually destroy her. But I feel like there's a threshold point. There's been a patience. There's been a stretching. There's been a, come on, guys, you're my babies. Come on. You know what I mean? But still, the planet will survive far beyond the species as we are now. I think a huge part of what's happening is we're also evolving into something beyond what we could ever know. There's fifth dimensional consciousness. There's unity consciousness. Through the gene keys, Richard Rudd talks a lot about this genetic evolutionary leap that we are taking. And it feels like we're in that as well. And the planet is holding us through that. But there's this relationship between her and our relationship to her, our respect and reverence of her, that at a certain point, there's going to have to be a threshold.
Yeah. Yeah, I so agree. I mean, everything you are continuously saying are conversations that I've been having and just trying to really understand, okay, so now what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now that this level of awareness, we are seeing what's happening. What do we do?
Mm-hmm. We take the upgrade. We take the catalyst. I've been calling the coronavirus the corona catalyst. So we take the catalyst, and the best thing that we can do for the collective is take the individual catalyst that is coming into your field. So the corona catalyst, Black Lives Matter, the racial revolution, what's going on in the Middle East right now. However, the disruption and the disturbances that are happening on the planet are impacting you, because unless you are an ascended master and form on this planet, I imagine there's some level of impact in way that you are being touched currently, even if it's peripherally through the observation of someone you love going through something in your life right now. And so we get to see, as the creators that we are, and I do believe that we are master creators, we are infinite beings, and that we are responsible for everything that is happening in our reality. And so we get to own that. And we get to look at, how have I contributed, and what is my point of attraction to the catalyst that is the coronavirus, and how that's impacting my money, my relationships, my living situation, my health. What is that coming in to show me? Why? What is this serving me? What is mine to do that I wasn't doing before, that this is catalyzing me into? And when we all receive our own personal catalysts and move through the responsibility and the expansion that will then come from that ownership of, all right, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. This is happening for me. This is not happening to me. This is happening for me to become a more compassionate, loving, empathetic, connected being. This is happening for me to learn how to surrender and let go of control. This is happening for me to leave the job that I never loved in the first place and live into my ultimate service and my truest service. This is happening for me. This is not happening to me. This is an opportunity to move out of victim consciousness and die into even the worst case scenario, for nothing else but to clear the resistance to it. Because when we're living in resistance to the worst case, like, okay, I might get the coronavirus and die. And so then we're living in fear and resistance to that. So then we're, avoiding being in social situations entirely, and we aren't going to work, and we don't want to go to the store, and all of this, we're literally living in a box, the walls are paper tigers made out of fear.
Yeah.
So the way that we get to clear that is to actually, with intention, permeate the timeline where even if the worst case scenario happened, this is why I'm not afraid of the coronavirus. If the worst case happened, I don't feel like I'm a match for it. I don't feel like it's going to serve me in any way for me to get it. But if it did happen, I would trust that that is happening for me and that I am growing through it. And that even if I died, I believe that our beliefs create our reality. I believe that I am infinite and that this is happening for me for a reason, and that whatever compassion and surrender and grief moves through me is going to ultimately serve the expansion, evolution, and connection to the one of my spirit. Period. And so that allows me to live and to be discerning and mindful and respectful, but to not live in fear. So I don't feel afraid of the coronavirus. I feel like this is a massive opportunity for the up-leveling of human consciousness on this planet. And the best that I can do is take the up-leveling for myself. So thank you, Corona Catalyst, for supporting me and transforming any resistance that I had left to the timeline of my own death, which is inevitable anyway. Which is inevitable anyway. We don't talk about that in this culture very much.
No, we don't.
No one is immune to it. Everyone will meet death one day. And there's opportunities for all of us in our lives, many micro death moments for ego structures and identity structures to go through these death processes. So the part of you that's resisting death, that is an identity structure that has been indoctrinated and conditioned to believe that death is scary, death is taboo, let's not talk about it. And then here comes the coronavirus. Oh my God, this thing that's bringing up us to have to face off with our own mortality. And that is the catalyst to then give us the opportunity for the identity that is resisting that truth to go through its own micro death. The identity that's resisting death gets to go through a micro death, meaning the resistance falls away. It doesn't mean you want it. It doesn't mean you're creating it. It doesn't mean you're calling it in. It just means that you're not living in fear of it. And this is so much of the work I do as a liberation artist with the Liberation Dojo. It's about identifying, like a heat-seeking missile, where our fear-based edges are at and expanding beyond them in real time through the intentional permeation of that timeline to meet the you that is on the other side of the resistance. And there's true liberation there. There's breath there. There are gifts there. There is connection there. There is the truest motion, the truest movement there. The movement that is from the you that is not moving out of fear. May that be the blessing we all get to experience in this lifetime. To move as free as fear, to move the most fearlessly as possible through our lives. That is a blessing. That is the work. So what do we do about this? We take the catalyst and trust that this is happening for us and that we are becoming, as a collective, through our individual expansion, as a collective, we are becoming more loving. We are becoming more united. We are forgetting the illusion of the separation wound of color and religion and all of the trauma that's coming up to be healed right now and that deserves our love and our attention and our compassion. We're healing the separation. And I feel like the greatest handicap we have as a human species is the separation story, are the ways that we judge ourselves and each other. All the millions of ways that we judge ourselves and each other. So when we transform the separation wound, the illusion of separation, and out of the preservation of keeping ourselves safe, we give ourselves the opportunity to come together as one human species, more free of fear than ever. And from there, we can move into the highest timeline, into right relationship, from the right relationship with ourselves into right relationship with each other and into natural relationship, symbiotic relationship with the planet, who I believe ultimately from that place will be quite forgiving with us, right? But we've got to commit to doing the work. Take the catalyst. Take the catalyst. So where's your catalyst at? Let's find it. Let's go for it.
Well, I think you definitely just gave us a very great call to action on how, and took us to church a little bit there, took us to the mother, and to really discover what our true purpose is in all of this, right? And you do kind of touching in your work as a like liberation artist and with Liberation Dojo. You touched on it a little bit, but what does that sort of energy, like what you put into that, how do you feel like that is serving those who come in forth? Because it sounds like a lot of this stuff that you do is really to break free of fear and confidence. And you were also a Olympic athlete. So I can definitely see the your dharma really playing out and being someone who, was that level of an athlete, because that does require you to really come into face head on fear oftentimes. So how has that really supported you, like creating the work that you do and with Liberation Dojo especially?
Yeah. So the Liberation Dojo birthed itself through me. I, was, as you said, growing up, I was training for the Olympics in Taekwondo. I was number 2 in the country for my weight division. And it was my greatest passion from ages 8 to 20. And then I had a second spinal surgery that took me out of the sport. And what that did is it really gave me a reference point for what true passion feels like. So when I went on after college to eventually I became the executive director of marketing for one of the biggest Major League Baseball agencies in the country, which was like a whole nother lifetime. And in that, I realized that even inside of what would be culturally defined or societally defined as successful, I ended up being quite miserable because I had the reference point in my bones already of what it feels like to be truly passionate about something, to be the one on the field, to be the one on fire. And what my career in sports behind the desk did was show me what I didn't want, which was to be behind the desk, making other people's dreams come true and sort of living vicariously through the athletes, which was the dream that I didn't fully fulfill, but I wasn't meant to. What Taekwondo did to serve me was it gave me that reference point, that fire, that feeling of fulfillment, that feeling of nobody is going to have to tell me or make me get up at 5 a.m. to go train and then go to school and then work out again during lunch and then go back to school and then train again before dinner and then go back to school and drop weight and be all that. It was all self-sourced. That was fire.
Yeah.
But after years in the sports business, because that wasn't my actual dharma, it was me living into a life that was socially defined for me around, well, this is what you do to be successful and happy. So I went and tried that and I was successful, but the essential ingredient of happiness was missing. So I was missing the happiness. And that reference point of that fire, I thank God for that every single day. And that is what led me into the personal development space. It was through my dark night of the soul of leaving the sports business, which was this huge ego death of this is who I am. My self-worth is defined by this title, right? And so I went through this huge ego death to leave that world, the red carpets, the floor to ceiling windows on Rodeo Drive, this whole my Mercedes, the whole look, the whole thing, and let it all go. And on the way to that, though, that ego held on to it for dear life. Go to doctors. I'm depressed. I can't sleep. I don't know what's wrong with me. They prescribe prescriptions. So I became dependent on prescriptions in order to hold on to this life that was defined for me, that this is what happiness is. And so I had to go through this. It was in my process of getting off of all the prescriptions, of healing myself, that I felt that Taekwondo feeling again. In deep transformational process, I would lose track of time. It was like, oh, I could be in this group therapy session for like hours. I love this. Like, you know, and I started to feel myself holding space for people who are much deeper in addiction patterns, like going through heroin addiction. And I found myself like enthralled by the human dark night of the soul journey and what it takes in the inside of the human spirit to go through that phoenix journey, right? To die and resurrect and rebirth yourself into a whole new life, and all of the intricacies that are involved in that. And so I went through my own dark night of the soul, my own phoenix process. And inside of that seed, I found all of my light again. I was like, oh, this is the thing. I could do this all day. And so then that began my journey. And I started, you know, I went to my evolutionary astrology apprenticeship program and spiritual psychology program at USM. And I started to educate myself, and then my own intuition, which became actually the most important ingredient. I want to make that very clear. Beyond any education, beyond any training, it is your own channel, your own intuition, and whatever needs to happen to clear out your physical system of trauma, of doubt, of lack mentality, whatever the work really is, from my perspective, clearing out the distortions that we have taken in from our own wounding, which opens up the channel, because we are all channels, to connect to spirit and receive the magnitude of source energy flowing through us. That is the power of being of actual being able to facilitate transformation for someone, because you're activating the channel in them. They are their own greatest healer. For someone to click and actually expand, it has to come in and through them. The awareness has to click in and through them. And so the journey of my own unlocking of my own channel really lit that fire in me. So I started my facilitation and really working in plant medicine and continuing in the ceremonial work, and really massive growth spurt over a series of many years, until in a moment we had just moved into this house, and the clarity for the Liberation Dojo flooded into me in a moment. It just was. There was no effort. There was no work to create it. It just was clear. I was describing it to Oren, and I was calling it free yourself. And I said, you know, it's like you're in the dojo and there's a ring and everyone's in circle, and the intention is to transform fear in real time. And somebody comes into the middle of the circle, and it's, you know, it's like a liberation dojo. And then I was like, oh, holy shit, it's a liberation dojo. Yeah. And that was it. And so then I got to facilitate the first liberation dojo, and I've done about 14 of them now. So over the last year, a year and a half, and they have all been different. They've all been dynamic. They've all been extraordinary. I've seen miracles happen in that space. It is such a deep honor to facilitate this experience. And what it is built upon is the frequency of trust through me leaning into my own edge to create it in the first place. So I came from this hyper developed make surer. Let me make sure that I have the order. Like, we're going to first do our intentions, and then we're going to meditate, and then we're going to, you know, do breath work, and then we're going to dance, and then we'll do an astrology download. So like having this set structure, and I got to dive into the identity that was afraid of trusting myself fully in the moment. So for the first Liberation Dojo, I felt the frequency of it. I felt the arc of it. And I just showed up in the space and shared that I have no idea what's going to happen in this space. The intention to meet our fear-based edges and expand beyond them will drive the experience. And I trust myself, I trust all of you, and I trust spirit to flow through us so that we can actually meet whatever is most alive in the moment today in this experience. Because who am I or anyone to pretend to know what is going to be most alive at the leading edge for someone in advance? It will be in that moment it will come through. And so that's what's really contributed to the magic, I feel, of the Liberation Dojo, is that we don't ever know exactly what's going to happen in each one. So that leaves a lot of space for spirit to flow. Leaves a lot of space for magic, a lot of space for miracles to come in, and a lot of space for other people who are present in the space to experience themselves in a new way, for their own gifts to unlock, because there's an invitation for it. There's space for it. And so the Liberation Dojo has been a really powerful expression for me, and a growth catalyst for me as well.
Yeah.
And, the next iteration of it is the Dojo Immersed, which is the intimate group program for 8 women that I'm starting in the first week of September. And 5 of those 8 spots are already full, and I haven't even shared about it on Insta story yet. It's just like the energetic around it is a magnetic thing. And so I'm really excited to take it even deeper in a more intimate container. And so, yeah, the dojo's my sweet spot. I
Yeah,
love the
I think we can all feel you and your passion and fire from what you've created and the channel that comes through. Why do you think today it's important for us to really have that channel and connection to spirit?
Mm. I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't be important. I think the answer is in everything. To feel connected to spirit when I'm waking up and opening my eyes for the first time in the morning, to feel connected to spirit in like I'm looking at a butterfly right now and talking to you while I'm on a computer, and my dog, there's so much happening, and I feel
So much
spirit.
butterfly
Oh,
energy right now, by the way, side note.
really? You feel
Oh,
it
yeah.
too?
Yes, 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 yes. I pulled the rebirth card this morning, and
Oh,
we did a butterfly meditation last night to close out a ceremony, and it was, yeah,
oh.
really beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I feel that too. It's right here. This big yellow butterfly, so beautiful, so present. And, without being connected to spirit, it's, you can't be connected actually, not actually connected to anything. That's why it can feel like kind of talking to someone who's not home. If you're talking to someone who's not connected to spirit, which is not something to feel shame for or bad about or judge inside of yourself, it just means that there's been a disconnection, that there's a distortion, that there's a trauma that created a disconnection or a level of sensitivity in you that felt too much, or you didn't have the tools to navigate before. And now there's an opportunity to find safety in your body so that that connection to source and that level of energetic emotional sensitivity can stay in place, so that we can be with ourselves in the level of feeling and sensitivity that comes with being connected. So it's important to be connected with spirit in order to be connected to anyone and anything that you're doing. Otherwise, it's a zombie state. It's mechanical.
Yeah.
It's programmed. It's conditioned. To decondition and deprogram yourself is to be connected to spirit.
Mm.
That's what's left, is connection to spirit. That's it. When I'm talking to someone and they're connected to spirit, that's all there is.
Mm.
Spirit connecting to spirit. And there's no doubt, there's no question, there's no uncertainty, there's no self-consciousness, there's no should we be here, should we not be here. It's connection.
Mm.
And that is, I think, what most of the planet is the most thirsty for
Yeah,
now.
definitely. I mean, especially now with a little bit of, but the isolation mix into that is really something I know a lot of people are struggling with. This is a good question that just came through. How do you feel like in this isolation that we are in and experiencing to some level, you addressed earlier too, like the fears that people might be having for going outside. How can we connect to spirit through this time? Maybe if we are feeling like that isolation is taking the power away from that.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Nature,
Best answer.
nature.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nature. I feel, well, there's two roads, right? So that which is beautiful and that which brings pain. Right? We find spirit some of the most extraordinary catalysts of my life in terms of catapulting me to a deeper connection with spirit, like the moment where I'm all the way down on my knees and all there is left, like total surrender. Any parts of me that were holding on to control or preservation are in a death process, and I'm just humbled to my knees. What's left? Spirit, help me. If there's no belief in spirit, there's a point where there's just nothing. It's so much pain, and there's the only thing left is down on your knees, and just, if there is anything beyond this, I'm here, help. That catalyst all the way to the connection, right? We're in a world of polarity. So the deepest dark in its opposite, inherent in it, is the brightest light. And so I think if you're in a lot of pain right now and struggling, recognizing there gets to be a reverence for the pain. There gets to be a recognition that that is catalyzing a deeper connection for you in whatever way, and that the asking for surrender can bring you forward into that. And also the other end of it is leaning into that which you find to be beautiful, that which you find to be divine, like nature, cuddling with your animal and feeling the breath in your body, connecting with a partner or with yourself if you don't have a partner, pleasure practice, really going deep enough inside of yourself that all that's left is presence. So I feel these are ways to really support a deeper connection, and to not resist if there's a painful catalyst, to recognize that this is catapulting me into a deeper connection. But all of that comes from the willingness to buy into the belief that life is happening for you. However it's happening for you. So I think there's a careful consideration of a belief structure there. If you're having a hard time finding any way to connect during the coronavirus, that to me speaks to a victim mentality, and that life is happening to me and there's nothing, and there can be a resignation in that. And that can be a challenging place to come out of, right? But the claiming of our creatorship, I think, is the key, meaning like, okay, I'm the center of all this. Mm-hmm. Everything that is happening outside of me is a reflection of what's happening inside of me. Yeah. So what's happening in me that is making me a match to this experience right now? Even if it's something really fucking hard, that is empowering to own that, to feel that, to be like, okay, there's a part of me that's bringing this in. There's a book that has a really interesting perspective on this that I'm listening to on Audible right now, called Existential Kink. Ooh. And it talks about how anything that's happening in your life that you don't want, there is something on a subconscious level. There's a part of you that is on the subconscious level that is actually getting off on it a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like a bad relationship. You're like, I really don't want this. I don't want to be like, let's say, abused or manipulated or anything of that nature. But yet the making up sex, or the making up part of that is actually what creates that serotonin increase in the brain. And then we therefore can get addicted to that cycle. It's so true. And what's interesting is you really just kind of pulled forth. I was like hearing this beautiful unraveling of the butterfly method, where we're in this struggle, we're in this complication, this place where it's hard and it's painful, but we're breaking through to become that butterfly. And that's, I think, the beautiful thing about this whole butterfly concept, that I keep getting this message of just being reminded that there is that cycle, and to honor that, and to know that, just like you said, it is part of creation, because you come out of your cocoon with these like new set of wings, and we go through those cycles over and over and over again, right? It's not just one time. Like the butterfly only lives for how long? Like, pretty sure it's pretty short lifespan. It's not long.
Yeah.
And then it repeats itself, right?
Yeah. It's the cocoon, like
Yeah.
we're in the cocoon, and there's a melting into mush, and the caterpillar is not in there resisting the cocoon. The caterpillar is in there completely surrendering to the unknown, completely surrendering to the uncertainty, having no idea that it's about to take the biggest quantum leap of its life. And so when you're dissolving into mush, on your floor and in tears and praying to God or source or the universe or whatever you believe in for help, get me out of this. How is this happening? Everything that I knew is crumbling around me. Feel the energy of the caterpillar in the cocoon and allow the process that is currently taking place, and everything that is being catalyzed inside of you, every feeling that is being catalyzed inside of you that is coming up for you to feel fully. That is emotional alchemy to transform in the light of your awareness. When we no longer resist that which we are feeling, we have the opportunity to transform it in real time. And now the catalyst is strong enough that most people are having a hard time hiding from their feelings anymore because the catalysts are so strong now. So the feelings are coming up, and the opportunity is to really feel them fully, dive into them, and trust and surrender like the butterfly, knowing that the greatest quantum leap of your life is on the other side of the cocoon. But if you're fighting the cocoon and resisting the cocoon, I don't want to be in the cocoon, and trying to crawl back out of the cocoon, you're trying to crawl back into caterpillar land when the rest of the planet is flying into butterflies right now. That's what's trying to happen. And so will it happen? We trust. The best we can do is do our own work and then show up in service of others, just like you're doing with this podcast. It gets to ripple out.
So magical. So you do also a lot of ceremonial work. I wanted to kind of touch on this too. And you've worked a lot with plant medicines, and I'm curious to know, what your journey has been with the plants and what some of the greatest teachings that you've received from them.
Oh my gosh. How do I even?
How do I put it down into words, right?
Oh
Or pick one. Well, the first one that comes up for you, maybe there's something there.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the most profound experiences of my life in the medicine space. And I also firmly believe that, plant medicine is not for everyone. It doesn't need to be for everyone. I feel like,
Just to give the listeners a clear understanding of what plant medicine we're speaking to as well, just because there's so many different forms.
There's different forms, right? So the biggest teachers for me have been ayahuasca and psilocybin. And I've had just some of the most extraordinary experiences of my life that have really changed the fabric of what it means to be a human on this planet for me. And, I've had, from my first ayahuasca ceremony, I am still receiving downloads and transmissions from that ceremony. And that was like 6 or 7 years ago. So it's a deep and long and unfolding journey that is important to have a lot of integration, to actually integrate. So I think there's, there's an overuse of the plant teachers in certain ways, meaning like just going into a deep experience and not actually taking the time to integrate what medicine was just served for you at this time. And I think that's one of the most important pieces, is to actually integrate the experience that you're having and what this medicine that you just merged consciousnesses with is teaching you and is inviting you into, and to actually bring that into form in the 3D is really important. And so, I think that those who do feel called to work with the medicine and are working with it in a good way, with maestros and shamans who have, are coming out of lineages and the indigenous tribes in the jungles. I went down, to Colombia and sat with the Kofan tribe with Yahe, which is a sister plant or a brother plant. It's more of a masculine energy than ayahuasca, but a family member, brother to Aya. And they're the people of the jaguar, and the jaguar has been very present for me through all of my medicine work. And I feel that, what I really recognize from then and through all the work that I've done with the medicine is that we actually become the medicine. Once we worked with the medicine to a certain degree, the humans that feel called to work with plant medicine have an opportunity once we integrate the expansion and the learning to carry the frequency of ayahuasca, to carry the frequency of psilocybin, to carry the frequency of these master plant teachers, the heart energy, the unconditional love, the ferocity, the penetration, the clarity, to carry that vibration, to carry that frequency, and to be that heartbeat through our expression, and be the invitation for others who may not feel called to work with the medicine. Like the Liberation Dojo, there's no medicine in that experience, but it very much feels like an ayahuasca ceremony, right? And so because I have such a deep relationship with that medicine, with that teacher, with grandmother medicine, that which comes through me tends to carry the frequency of her. So we have the opportunity to kind of exponentially impact, once we've worked with these medicines and integrated their teachings, to actually go out and be like drum beats for them, for those who may not feel called to work with the medicine, or may not feel called to go down into South America and work with these teachers, with the indigenous tribes. And it's, everyone gets to honor their own truest heartbeat. I am truly, clearly, an advocate for working with plant medicine. If you feel the call and you are aligned with a maestro, a shaman who has been in the work for many, many, many years and comes through, recommendations from people that you love, I think it's really important to know who you're sitting with, because you're sitting in their energy field, right? And so it's really important who you're very open when you're with the plant teachers, right? And so you're energetically open. So being in a safe space is very important when you go into these containers. So I think that's, an essential ingredient. And if that ingredient is present, I am a full advocate for people who feel called to work with the medicines during these times. And also in the same breath saying that, and if you don't feel called to work with the medicine, there are beings who are working with the medicine that I feel are still transmitting the frequency of the medicine. So there are ways to take the medicine without actually taking the medicine. So I think it's really just a matter of tuning in to what's true for you, and going from there. And the message of the plant allies, for me at the bottom line, has always been come down to the same thing. Love yourself. Love yourself. Transform your fear. Let go of the fear. You are infinite. You are beyond this body. This body is temporary, my love. And that was an intense one. Ceremony, right? That was an intense one to feel that. And also in the same vein, to feel my infinite nature, right? And so there's a liberation from all the stories in that. And it's take care of the planet. Of course, the plants are going to have a very unbiased opinion, but take care of the planet, care for the planet. A deeper connection to the animals and the plants has come out of my work with the medicine, much deeper.
Sure.
Can feel it all. Energetic sensitivity, emotional sensitivity, all of it unlocks in the medicine space, and one right before my first ceremony, a brother of mine said, the medicine is going to give you everything that you need and nothing more than you're ready for. So sometimes you'll be surprised how much you're ready for. It can be very intense, but as long as you're sitting in a safe space, with a well-seasoned, deeply connected shaman, the medicine will give you exactly what you need. And that may be really fucking hard, or it may be really immaculately, ineffably beautiful, and nothing more than you're ready for. So I think that's an important piece going into the medicine work as well. And clearly I deeply believe in the power of the plant teachers and the allies that they are for us. And, I just feel that it's important to infuse a lot of the work that I do energetically with the expansion that has been born out of my work with these teachers.
Yeah. It's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So you also spoke on some of your expansion work from Liberation Dojo, and really kind of taking it into this place of understanding what is this higher self. And I would love to understand where you're kind of coming from with that. What is what does it truly mean to be in our higher self, and how has all of your work that you've done up until now really led you to even understand your own highest self?
Yes, thank you for that question. Yeah, this has been such a journey. And, I was sharing with Nixie before we got on the podcast, just a little bit about my own journey in integrating the frequency of my higher self. And that's a journey that I'm still on, and recognizing that I feel like in the spiritual communities, it's become a little bit cliche to say, connect with your higher self or be your higher self. That it's almost like it's said so lightly. And I didn't realize until just recently, after this 3-day water fast that I did, how deeply I've been making a careful study of exactly that process. And a huge part of that is actually connected to my name. My given name is Megan. And about 6 years ago, I was in Ojai, and a dear brother of mine came up to me, like kind of out of nowhere. And he said, there's a name that came in, and it's for you. And I just feel like I have to share it with you. And I don't know why, but it's strong, and I just have to share it. And I said, okay. And he said, it's Zahara. And everything in me, I got chills, like everything lit up. And I just looked at him and said, yes, that was it. But it didn't occur to me that I would actually change it. I just thought that, maybe it's from a past life, or it just really resonates for me. So then the couple years following, I was in USM, a spiritual psychology program, and we would do these Gestalt exercises with our higher self, where you communicate with your higher self. And in those exercises, I would communicate with my higher self as Zahara. So I built a relationship with the frequency of my higher self, the part of me, my God self, that is beyond the story, that is beyond the trauma, that is beyond the pain, the part of me that has been the observer, present with me through many, 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 all the lifetimes. I became familiar with her, with that energy. And I developed a relationship with her as Zahara. And then subsequent years, through a lot of plant medicine work, eventually a sister of mine asked me, she said, I feel like there's another name in the field for you. And I wanted to voice that. And I said, there is, and it's Zahara. And so in that instant, the women in the space were just like, they were like, yes. Like they just felt like, oh yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah. And so at that point, that was about 1.5 years ago. That was the first time it occurred to me. I was like, to even consider changing my name,
Right.
but I wasn't ready yet. And I realized that was because I had built a relationship with my higher self, and understanding what that means to embody, to integrate that level of consciousness into your limited physical form, and claim to be in the devotion of being her. At that point, didn't actually feel like I was ready for that. Like I was in integrity. So they called me Zahara for like a couple days, and I felt like an actress. It didn't feel true. And so the next, period of time, I spent doing the work to align my physical body and my level of integrity with my yes, with my no, with transforming any layers of people pleasing, and doing the work that I needed to do to get myself into alignment, so that this last December, which was about 8 months ago, I arrived into a space where it was more true for me to claim my chosen name, Zahara, along with everything that came with, which was a level of devotion that was beyond anything I had ever experienced before, which was knowing that choosing to claim my name, why am I relating to Zahara, my higher self, as something outside of me, rather than choosing to be her now? And every time someone says Zahara or Z, they're reflecting back to me and reminding me who it is that I am choosing to be, who it is that I'm committing to being, every time someone says my name. And so at that point, I was ready for that level of devotion. And so I went in and committed to that, and claimed my chosen name. And there was so much fear connected to that. What will other people think? What will my family think? The whole thing. So I got to go through my own Liberation Dojo connected to that. And in the months since, I have experienced and recognized the process more consciously, that, okay, since changing my name, now I am choosing to be the expression of my higher self, which is so infinite and ever unfolding, right? It continues to deepen, it continues to grow. There's so much more always,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, you can't just do it in one moment, but it is an unfolding process that is born out of the devotion. And I've seen how the physical body can react to that as well. It's like hitting a gas pedal down on a car, and the body of the car is so heavy it like can't quite go that fast instantly. It's like kind of that momentum. And so the physical body, when you bring in that higher frequency that's moving so much faster, the physical body can actually get sick. It can sort of like it like stalls out for a second. So there's an integration period that needs to happen, where you allow the body and nourish the body and clear the body to be able to house that higher frequency, and allow the body to kind of catch up to the energetic speed up that's happening. The physical level moves more slowly than spirit.
Yeah.
So that's been the journey that I've been on. And after this most recent water fast, the clarity, the blueprint dropped in for the Dojo Immersed, the group program that I'm launching beginning the first week in September. And that essentially is the arc of the first month will be the meeting, which is becoming familiar with your higher self. So it's a 3-month higher self embodiment initiation. That's what the program is. Month 1, the meeting, becoming familiar with her, tuning into her, feeling her, understanding her, committing to her, going into devotion to her, receiving her. Month 2 is the ceremony. So in month 2, it's about embodying her. We'll be doing a water fast. We'll be doing an immersion, an overnight immersion experience. So they're in that month 2, it's about really bringing that energy into the body. And then month 3 is the expression, which is being her out in the world. So in this month, we're talking about next levels of service, next levels of love, next levels of creativity, being moved by spirit in exactly what that sounds like. Being moved by spirit, more liberated from fear than ever before, being the expression of your higher self. So that's the arc that came through, and that's the template I didn't know that I was studying over the last 6 years. The meeting, receiving her, like even recognizing and feeling and understanding the frequency of your higher self, your unique consciousness that you are stewarding, only you in your body in this lifetime. The meeting, receiving her, to the ceremony, embodying her, to the expression, being her. And that's the structure, that's the blueprint, which we can all work with on our own, whether you're in my program for this round or not, right? So it's kind of a blueprint to really architecting your reality around your most authentic embodied expression.
I love the universe. I love the way things work. I'm just sitting here receiving a lot of your story because I actually have the same story, but didn't quite understand like it in that context, because my given name is Nicole. And I was delivered Nixie in a very similar light, not at all in a ceremonial like brotherhood thing, but just a wild Australian came and into this bar that I was working in, probably maybe around maybe 6-7 years ago. It was definitely before I had moved to LA, and I've been here for 7 now. So yeah, about that. And I don't know, he came in. First of all, I don't know about you, I never resonated with my given name. Nicole was like, who is that?
Right.
I never really was called Nicole. I was mostly called my last name. People would have nicknames for me. There was always so many Nicoles, and Megan's actually often like a pretty common name you hear.
Right.
And I really didn't like the fact that I would be in classrooms and other people would have my name. So then they'd have to be like Nicole B or Nicole C or whatever, right? It was just like, no, I am this unique soul and I do not want to be like any other Nicole. And I always felt that so deeply. So at one point, when I'm working at this fine dining restaurant, this guy comes up. He's Australian, and he's like, "What's your name, love?" And many of the listeners probably already know this story because we've spoke on it before. And I was like, "My name's Nicole," and even the way I would say it, it was like a lower vibration.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like up. It was just like, Nicole, it's
Yeah.
just whatever. Hey.
Totally.
And
Totally.
he's like, no, your name's not Nicole, it's Nixie. And I was
Mm.
like, same reaction as you did. I was like, whoa, chills, like, whoa, that is totally my name.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to anchor it in. I went through a lot of transformational work. And in my like third training, I said, everybody, this was like 3 years later, and going through Burning Man and kind of getting into more festival culture, everybody has nicknames there, right? So I'd kind of play with Captain Nixie and kind of see how it would fit. And other people were like, of course you're Captain Nixie. Like I would wear this like captain hat and stuff like that. And now it's just like beautiful how much that is who I am. And I met my partner who's a sailor, and he literally is a captain. And so I get to like be his co-captain, but really I'm the captain.
I
And
love it.
it's just like the way that this interaction and this synchronicity that gets to play out like right in front of this unraveling of just this connection simply
Yeah.
is proof, and is just an example of when we are connected to spirit, right? We're
Yeah.
listening, we're opening, we're receiving. And I love the way you kind of like painted that story, because it kind of gives me more validation in my own process, and why I really feel there's so much more there's more of an opportunity for people to reclaim who they really are, because
Mm.
there's a lot in the way of that,
Right.
right? So
Totally.
so cool.
Hell yeah.
Well,
I
we're
love
definitely
it.
wrapping up here. So I have a couple final questions for you before we say our final farewells. And
Perfect.
yeah, so if you were to really vision, like I can't wait for your answer on this one, to envision this new earth, what would it look like to you?
Mm. My God, there's images of like Fern Gully and Avatar and like the end like just endless lush green waterfalls and jungles and like almost like remember like what was the dinosaur oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting it with the cartoon
Oh,
dinosaurs.
something
When you're
story, right? No, that's not
um,
Finding Story.
oh my God, with
Oh, wait, with
Littlefoot.
Petrie, with Petrie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, we've got to look it up. You just
We've
keep
got to.
talking.
Oh my God.
Look it up.
So the dinosaur cartoon movie, that was my favorite thing that I'd watch on repeat when I was a kid. Like when it's like in the most lush land, like it feels like that. And
Land Before Time.
the land before time, guys.
We
The
all need to
land.
watch
That's
that right
perfect.
now.
I literally think I might literally watch that tonight.
I think that's our movie
Yes,
for the night.
we'll message each other. See, guys, we told you were going to be with our first sister drop in. We realize we have so many parallels. It would be the land before time, man. Like
Just the name.
literally the name is like the answer. It's like we go into the land before time, the land where time doesn't exist, more like the timeless land, where it's just we're all in this timeless flow state, everyone in their zone of genius, everyone exactly where their highest excitement moment is in every moment. So there's no lack, there's no FOMO, there's no I should be somewhere else, there's no I'm not invited, there's no I don't have enough money, there's no where's my partner, there's none of that. It's just a knowing that exactly where I am is where I'm supposed to be, exactly what I'm doing is my full fuck yes highest excitement. And guys, I'm telling you, I'm learning, because I feel like I'm living like this, just the planet isn't reflecting it yet. It is coming from embodying as my primary intention devotion to spirit, the energy of my own higher self and everything that comes along with that. So I see a reality in a world where everyone is embodied, meaning their higher self is embodied in their form. We are stewarding the energy of pure God source self through our physical bodies. And from there, we are living in heaven on earth, like waterfalls and ocean jumps and mountains and playing and connection. And it's all fluid and effortless because everyone loves what they're doing.
That was such a good journey to see.
Yeah, to feel.
Thank you for that. Beautiful. Well,
Thank
I'm
you
sure
for the
everybody,
question. That was
yeah,
fun.
that was really fun. So I personally am very excited to just sit with you. I want to try this Liberation Dojo experience. And I know that
Yes.
everybody here is probably like on their seat wanting to know what this is all about. So can you give us a little like transition? Where can we find you? Where can we work with you? And we'll say our farewells after that.
Yes, 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 yes. So will this podcast be released in the next week or two?
We'll have it out in the next couple weeks. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So the next Liberation Dojo is going to be August 27th at 5 p.m. Pacific, and that's going to be a digital dojo because of the COVID
At
experience
August
that we're
22nd,
August 27th.
27th. Okay.
Yep. So it'll be August 27th, and that's a digital dojo, which I've been doing digital dojos since COVID started, and they've all been super lit. So it's a really powerful way to experience the dojo from wherever you are in the world. And I will be doing live dojos again when that aligns with what's going on with COVID. So the digital dojo is August 27th. I am launching the group Dojo Immersed program, which will have a live component to it for 8 women. And 5 of those 8 spots are full. We're starting the first week in September. So if you're feeling called to go deeper with me through this higher self embodiment initiation, I invite you to reach out to me through email is great. Zahara, Zahara, at Zahara Zimring, ZIMRING.com, or you can find me on Instagram and DM me there, which is at Zahara Zimring, ZIMRING. And then my website is the same, zaharazimring.com. And I also do private work, so one-on-one mentorship in 1 month and 3 month containers, and also private immersion experiences as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can work with me. I also am a part of an incredible membership community, the Create community. So there's a lot of different ways we can work together. So if you're feeling the call, if you're feeling a resonance, I would encourage you to just direct message me or email me, and we'll find the sweet spot for us to go deeper.
Beautiful. Yeah, and we'll make sure to put all that in the show notes so you guys can find the lovely Zahara.
Amazing.
Well, loves, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast episode with the lovely Zahara Zimring. And I hope you enjoy this and are feeling just as lit as I am. I'm like, I've got sweats. I'm like, all the things. The body is speaking loudly through this. So it was really lovely to connect with you. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Nixie. This was epic. This was lit. It was very, it was very revitalizing. I was feeling like tired, a little lower energy earlier today, and this was just like spiritual fire flowing through. So now I feel lit up. So thank you for creating this space and the service that you're offering to the planet through this platform. I really appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I love you all, fellow Earthlings, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.